Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Blonde Café Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Villanueva, and I'm here to help give you the tips, tricks, and tools to live your best life. And welcome back, and welcome if you are new here. I am so freaking happy you guys are here. If you're listening to this, you have reached the best friend, big sister corner in the internet. We're telling you all those little tips and tricks that, maybe you actually kind of don't want to hear, but you feel like you need that little kick in the booty to love your life again and actually enjoy what you're doing every day. So welcome to the freaking party. And if you don't know, we are hosting an event soon with Tune In to Wellness. She's the host. I am emceeing it. So I will be, on the mic in between listening to different women's stories. They're going to tell us about their lives. They are going to walk us through the obstacles that they've had to overcome in their life and how they got through it. It's going to be a lot of motivation. It's going to be that heartfelt, warm hug that you kind of needed to say, it's okay to not be okay. It's going to be that kind of vibe, but we're going to end it on a positive note. We're ending it with how they overcame these obstacles and what they're doing now and how they're living their life. So if that sounds like you, join us this Sunday, March 29th. We are going to be at Gather in Virginia Beach. And it's going to be so much fun, y'all. It's going to be such an evening of powerful connection. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. And to start, I am sharing my story. So this is what prompted this episode. Of course, if you've been listening for a while now, you will know that this podcast has been around for about 4 years. We used to previously be named The Millennial Guide. And then we switched the name, I think, last January-ish, maybe last October. Can't really remember exactly, but we switched our name to the Blonde Café. It's a little bit more catchy. It's not, necessarily just geared to millennials because I have a lot of Gen Z followers as well. And if we're being frank, I am on the cusp of being a millennial and Gen Z. So if you don't know, I was born July 26, 1996, and that is literally the year of the cutoff. So I got a little bit of Gen Z vibes and I got a little bit of millennial vibes. I also lean more toward millennial because I had 4 older siblings growing up. And not to mention, my husband is also 4 years older than me, 4.5 years, almost 5 years older than me. In this episode, I'm giving you a little bit of a background onto why I'm here, why I created this podcast, who exactly I am, and what made me motivated to start motivating you all. Because I don't have all the answers. I don't have, that 60 years of life experience. I'm only 29 and I'm doing just fine. I grew up in a small town outside of Dayton, Ohio. So if you don't know where Dayton is, it is an hour north of Cincinnati, Ohio, which is about also 2 hours east of Indianapolis. And it is in the southwest corner. It's because I'm from a small town. I'm from a small town called Tipp City, Ohio. And it's about 7 square miles with about 10,000 people. And that is no exaggeration. To give you a little bit of context, the first internship that I had here in Virginia Beach, our amphitheater held 20,000 people, still holds 20,000 people. And that is literally the double the size of the population of my entire hometown. But I grew up in Tipp City, Ohio. I grew up with a single dad raising me since I was 10 years old, 9 years old, really. I grew up, like I said, with 4 siblings, but they are all older than me. So they were all out of the house by the time I was going through middle school, going through high school. My closest sibling in age is my sister, and she is 5 years older than me. And that kind of goes to show you, I was kind of an only child in a way, but I also, I had siblings that I loved and that also kind of helped raise me. But I'm quite literally your definition of being raised by the village. I had so many influential people in my life that really have impacted me. And my dad did his damnedest to raise me. He did such a great job for being a single dad, out there on his own. He was starting a business at the time as well. So he was kind of, holding down all the fronts. And I kind of had to figure it out along the way. I spent a lot of solo time at home, after cheer practice or in between events or in between things when he was out and about, starting his business. And I also spent a lot of time at my best friend's houses. Shout out to you girls. If you know, you know. But their parents also helped raise me too. And I am forever grateful for their families and their moms. And also, my sisters helped raise me, my aunts. I had a lot of people that were really, really influential throughout my life that I was so blessed with, despite, my mom being out of the picture, kind of doing her own thing. So fast forward, in high school, like I said, I was a cheerleader and I had my three best friends and I had other additional friends as well that I absolutely loved spending time with. And through that, I also had my first job, which was at a snow cone shack. And I am not kidding you when I say that it was a shack. It was quite literally in the parking lot and it didn't have air conditioning. We eventually got a window AC that worked sometimes, but didn't have air conditioning. It was 4 feet by 4 feet. I'm not joking. We didn't take credit card. We took cash only. So I was doing a lot of math on the fly in my head or with a handheld calculator because this was also the time before iPhones and smartphones. So, I had my little flip phone, but I had to do a lot of math in my head. And I think that's where a lot of my people skills came into play too, was when I would have customers at the snow shack, a lot of times, sometimes you were there by yourself during the day and you had to entertain these people. You had to talk to them while you're busy making their shaved ice. And a lot of times it was summertime. It was really hot outside. You want to keep the vibes going. And I was only making $6.25 an hour at the time. But to me, that was my hangout money. That was my money to go to the movies with my friends or to go to the mall or to go get Chipotle after school. That was that money. And I also saved up for my very first car as well. So my dad, as I mentioned, he was starting his business and we didn't have the most money at the time, to be completely honest with you. He was working his butt off trying to start this business, which ended up being very successful. But it was really just him and I against the world. I knew that I wanted a car when I eventually got my permit and got my license. So I saved up half of the money. He saved up the other half of the money. And we were able to buy my very first car, which, it was no Lamborghini by any means. It was a 1999 Honda Civic. And the year was 2012 for context. The windows barely rolled up, especially when it would snow outside or it would be really icy. They would quite literally get frozen. And I had to do a little maneuver to get them out of the car to roll them up. It had some rust on it. I wrecked it a few times. I backed into 2 cars. I backed into a mailbox. I got a couple speeding tickets. Needless to say, 16-year-old me, I was not too good at looking over my shoulder by any means. But really, it was a pivotal time where I learned responsibility. I got my first job when I was 14. I saved up to buy my car when I was 15 because I got my permit at 15 and a half. And I really, really learned the ethics of hard work in that moment. And my dad always taught me, even just getting up to go to school every single day, he really, really always taught me to get up, do what the plan is, not what you're feeling like. And, if I was sick, of course, I could take sick days, but I had to go to school anyway. He wasn't going to be able to take me in late. He had to get to work. I had to catch the bus every single morning at 6:30 in the morning. And we lived on the outskirts of town. So I was the very first one to get picked up and the very last one to get dropped off. And so it really, really taught me accountability from early on. And even when I started cheerleading or I was doing different sports, I did track for a year. And it really taught me that he always told me, if you start something, you have to at least do it for a year. I couldn't quit in the middle of the season. I couldn't quit after we signed up. I had to at least see it through. And that really, really held me accountable. Having my first job at 14 held me accountable. Paying for my first car, half of it. So I had all of these monumental things in my life. Not to mention, I had some really kind of not great stuff going on behind the scenes with what my mom was doing. And, there was just certain things that it was I had every reason to kind of give up and not really care. Okay, this is my life. I'm feeling so down. I'm feeling so out and really let my emotions control my life. And I didn't do that. the reason why I have this podcast is the fact that you can get up, you can keep going, you follow the plan, you don't follow your emotions in the moment. And that's not to say that, you shouldn't feel your emotions, and you should embrace them, and you should acknowledge them. And, they're never going to go away if you don't acknowledge them. But at some point, you kind of have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and say, okay, I got this. I might not be feeling it today. I might not be feeling it tomorrow. There might be some crazy stuff going on behind the scenes, but I have to keep moving. And that really showed every Friday night when I would cheer at the football games. And I had to keep showing up no matter what day, no matter what time. And you couldn't miss a cheer game multiple times in a row, or else you would get benched and you wouldn't be able to cheer following after that. So it was kind of like this catch-22 where I would have some things going on in life, and then I would have to pick myself up and say, nope, it doesn't matter. I'm doing this. I would acknowledge the things behind the scenes, and then I would keep going. I would show up every Friday night with a smile on my face. And that's what I carried through to college. Fast forward, went to college. I went to community college for a semester, and I had a scholarship. I won it at our school's after prom. I got to go there for my first semester for free. I think it was like $1,500 originally back in the day, 2014. And then I transferred to University of Dayton, where I graduated from college with a marketing degree and international business. With my international business was my minor as well, and entrepreneurship, not to mention. But fast forward, I graduated from University of Dayton, where I really, really took that accountability to another level. I actually joined one of the fourth largest student-run businesses in the nation. It was called Flyer Enterprises, and I became the general manager of a sandwich shop at the age of 19. And it was on campus. Everything was completely student-run, from the CEO down to the very bottom sales associate. Everything was students. And it was really, really an important time in my life where I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to think on my feet. I quite literally did not have anyone else with the answer, because I was supposed to be the one that had the answers, even if I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And a lot of times I didn't, but people were looking for me to fix the oven when I don't know how the hell to fix an oven. I don't know, call the Pepsi guy if the Pepsi guy didn't show up. But those were the things that I had to do every single week. And I had to troubleshoot and problem solve. And I had to show up when people called out sick, or I had to have somebody cover their shift immediately, or I dealt with internal employee issues, or, paying the bills. We made revenue that year that I was first general manager, because if not, we were going to close and we were going to have to give that business back to the university. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to prove to ourselves as students that we could do it. And it was the third year that business was open. So if you don't know the statistics, most businesses fail after the first 3 years. And we were right on that cutoff. And they told me from the jump, when I got that manager position, they said, if we don't make money this year, we will lose this business. And so I said, bet, babe, let's do it. And that's exactly what I did. I got up every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning before class. I still had to go to full-time student classes. I would get up before class. I would go to the local food retailer, the wholesaler. I would go get the food. I would come back. I would prep it in the morning, because everybody else, if we ran out of things, I couldn't call somebody at 6:30 in the morning, especially college kids, to come in and meal prep some food. But I had to get there early. I had to prep ahead of time so that we could open that morning and be good to go for the day. And yes, I could have just posted a sign that said, hey, we're out of turkey today. Or I could have asked another shop on campus to borrow it if they had it. But ultimately, I wanted it to be successful on our own. And I made us open. I made us stay open for another 3 years, until I graduated. And then the following year, it ran for one more year. And then the following year, it closed because they weren't able to make money. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm not saying this to say, oh my gosh, I saved the world by that one sandwich shop. I'm saying that those early steps of accountability really showed me what responsibility is like, and really gave me that opportunity to problem solve in real time. And that's where I like along the way, I kept saying, I had a team of people and it was amazing. And I got to lean on those people. And I kept saying to myself, like, it is my job to figure it out. I have to figure out how to, meal prep for the next week, even though it's spring break and people are going to hit the ground running on Monday. How the hell are we going to open? I had to come in on Sunday and make sure that we had enough food to open after spring break when everybody got there. And, the team that I worked with at the time, and I had a boss who was also a student, but then ultimately our C-level suite, they had to report back to the university. So long story short, I became a manager on campus. That taught me hella accountability times 100 that I learned all throughout my life, got amplified when I became the manager. And then fast forward to that summer following when I was a manager, I actually got an internship and I decided that I wanted to move out of Ohio. I decided I wanted broader horizons. I decided that, the college that I went to that was 20 minutes away from my hometown was not broad enough horizons. And I wanted to try new things. I wanted to experience new people. I wanted to go to a warmer climate, but I wanted to see new things. And, I believed in myself and I believed that I could do it. And I took a chance. I reached out to one of my best friend's moms at the time, and she accepted that I would be able to live with her and pursue this unpaid internship with the Virginia Beach Amphitheater. And so long story short, that's how I ended up in Virginia Beach. I actually had one of my friends that is my longtime friend I went to elementary school with in Ohio. Her and her mom moved to Virginia Beach, and I loved it here. I came to visit her damn near every summer for like 3 summers in a row, and I loved it. And I said, I want to make this my reality. And luckily, like I said, I did have her, but it took a while to kind of reach out to her and say, okay, this is actually what I want to do. This is, I understand I need to pay you something for living at your house, but she really took me in as her own. And she took me in as her own, even when we were in Ohio. But this time I was an adult. I was 19 years old and I wanted to do an internship, like I said, at the Virginia Beach Amphitheater. And it was unpaid, but I knew it was going to be a good stepping stone for my career. I knew it was going to be great for my marketing skills. I knew it was going to be great for my people skills. And once again, thinking on my feet. And so that really taught me accountability. Again, I decided I wanted to change my life. I wanted to move out of my hometown. I wanted to see bigger and better things. Even though I was going to school 20 minutes from where I grew up, I said, there's a way to do it. And I figured it out. And I'm going to do a part 2 and a part 3. So I'm not going to make this go on forever because honestly, if I did, this episode would probably be like 2 hours long. But I'm going to start to wrap it up here with part 2 of my internship at the Virginia Beach Amphitheater. And then I will take you guys fast forward to the next summer. And then that's where we're going to pick up the next episode where we're at the next summer in Florida, because that's literally where everything changed. I'm not even kidding you. That is where I really put the balls to the wall, put the pedal to the metal and was like, let me see what I got. Let me see what I'm made out of. So rewind back to 2016. I did my internship here at the Virginia Beach Amphitheater. I quite literally did not know anybody except for my best friend's mom at the time. And my best friend, she wasn't even here. She was going to school up in Washington, D.C. at George Mason. And she was doing her own thing. She came back like a couple weekends in the summertime or whatever. But really, it was just me, her mom, her stepdad, and her little brother who I got to babysit. But I was so damn thankful. Like I said before, I was so thankful that they allowed me to have that opportunity. And I know I would have figured out another way because that's kind of my MO is being resourceful. And that's why I want to have this podcast. And that's why I want to try to tell you guys that you can be resourceful. You can get creative. I just got this nudge in my head that I wanted something bigger and better. And I went for it and I said, okay, how can I make this happen? And I thought about it and I was like, all right, I go visit my friend every single summer and I absolutely love it. So why not give it a shot? And then I worked at the amphitheater. It was amazing. I got to see so many celebrities, so many artists. It was truly like a one-of-a-kind experience. I was a premium seat sales intern. So, those like special VIP boxes that are in the amphitheater, I got to sell those. And same thing, there's a VIP club where you get your own like hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and you get a little show before the show, and it's a lot of fun. And I got to help set that up. So I learned a lot from my first internship. I really, really took it to heart. And that was where my girl boss energy, I took that from my job on campus when I was the manager. And it was myself and 3 other interns. And we kicked butt that summer. And then fast forward, the following summer is really when I put my pedal to the metal. Like I said, I kept taking it a step further and a step further and a step further. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And that's why I have this podcast. That's why I want to preach to you guys about how you can get over whatever setbacks in life you have. You can keep on moving, and life is meant to be enjoyed. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Life is meant to be enjoyed. You are not meant to be miserable here on this earth. And if you're not happy, you got to change something. There are times in the world where, things happen. Shitty things happen in life, for lack of a better word. I have had plenty of obstacles in my life, Lord knows. And if you know me personally, you know. And I've overcome them, and I've had no choice. It's either you give up and you be miserable every single day and you be sad and you be upset. And there is a time and a place. And I do believe that there's a limit for that too. There's a time and a place and a limit for feeling your feelings and making sure that you are taking care of yourself inside and out. And then there's also a time and a place to say, okay, I felt the feels. I got to keep moving. I got to put one foot in front of the other because I cannot keep living like this. And that's what I've been doing my whole entire life. The moment that I feel like something does not work for me, I make pivots. I make choices. I voiced my opinion. And that's why I'm telling you guys to do it too, because it has changed my life from ever since I was 9 years old, being raised by a single dad in a small town of 10,000 people, to now where I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I live 20 minutes from the beach. I have an amazing husband. I have 2 amazing dogs. I freaking love my career. I work for an interior designer. I have this podcast and so many friends and local connections. And I want you guys to have the same thing. And it doesn't have to look like the way that I look at it. I don't care if you're a mom that wants to have 6 kids. I don't care if you want to start your own business. I don't care if you're fine with just being, mediocre in your job, but you want to have a kick-ass home life. I don't care what that looks like, but you are meant to be happy. Okay. If you've gotten this far in this podcast, you are here for a reason, and you are here because deep down, somewhere in the slightest back inkling of your brain, you believe that you are meant for more. Whatever that more is, I don't care if you want to be a chef. I don't care if, you want to open a dog sanctuary or a cat sanctuary or a coffee shop, or if, like I said, if you just really want to focus on your relationships, whatever that looks like I said, we're going to break this up because it would be about an hour freaking long if I were to do it all at once. But part 2, we are going to talk all about how I got my second internship in Florida, literally not knowing anyone. The first one, I didn't really know anybody, but I knew, I had my best friend's mom, and I had eventually the connections that I made through the amphitheater. But other than that, I really didn't know anybody. In Florida, I damn sure didn't know anybody. I didn't know a soul. And I can't wait to share that story with you guys because it is the utmost delulu story, but I believed that it could freaking happen, and it can happen for you too. Okay. So stay tuned. I can't wait to share with you guys part 2. If you do have any questions or you want me to go a little bit further into certain details, I am willing and I can. DM me. Leave a comment, let me know what you want to hear about. Let me know what questions you have, or if you're in a particular scenario and you want some advice on it, let me know. I don't have all the answers. I'm 29 years old. I'm still figuring it out, but I want to share with you what knowledge I have so far, and we can figure it out together. I want to inspire y'all. So thank you guys so much for listening. I am so freaking happy you're here, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.